of speed. Now, everyone here will be going, Charles, where the hell is Lake Perkalilly? Near Kalgoorlie. It's about 40 kilometres east of Kalgoorlie.
It's one of the big salt plains out there.
Yeah, it's on a clay pan. And back in 1914, they had the first Grand Prix there around the clay pan. The clay pan today is absolutely unchanged. It's still that red dirt, got the little bit of shrubbery in the background, and then that beautiful blue sky. And so they're doing a centenary of speed there, and you'll be checking it all up on through the historic racing publications. Of course, the HSRCA has the Oily Rag, which is their quarterly magazine, and it'll all be written up in there. But if you're looking at doing a travel over there, 16th of October through until the 19th of October is the Lake Perkalilly Centenary of Speed. Check it up. It's on the internet.
One out of the books, but having been up at Kalgoorlie for some time, and I can assure you that there is a great deal of absolutely buggery out there.
That's right. And but having said that, do a Google search. For those of you that are on the W's, do a Google search and type in Lake Perkalilly, and you'll see some photos there of previous reenactment events they've done and some of the historic photos, and you'll see what I mean. Yes, it might be out in the middle of absolutely nowhere, but those who go there will have an absolute ball. Might even have a couple of those little nice bubbles that we're talking about.
Well, you can imagine that being 40 odd k's from Kalgoorlie, some people say we'll just set up camp here rather than trucking or trailing from Kalgoorlie left, right and centre all the time. Rips Q&R on the track. This will be their final round for the weekend. It's been a successful weekend overall. Certainly a massive thanks to the HSRCA and to the Australian Racing Drivers Club for conspiring, is probably a good word, to put this all together. And this time round we'll see Tom Tweedy making it, or going to make it, one would think, a 4 from 4 for the weekend. He's had a pretty rapid car, Charles Rogers, under his backside, that 73 Chevron, the Formula 5000 car.
Well, he has indeed, and he's certainly... didn't take him long at all to come to grips with this car. I think his father, Bob Tweedy, must have seen a guy over in the UK, Michael Lyons, who's a few years younger than Tom, driving all sorts of Formula 5000s and all that with Great Bird. And he's racing next weekend at Monaco in the historic. We're coming down to a rolling start here. Cars forming up, and they're doing a great job. Tweedy, obviously, the lead man, so he's holding the back. There's a cruise down. It's just a Sunday drive, folks. The fastest Sunday drive you'll have of the day. As racing gets underway, and a great start there from, looks like Kenny Bedggood actually got off to a great start in the Penrite chair to mark 8. But our pole sitter streaks away to the lead here in the group's Q&R race.
Interesting to note too that Peter Lucas in the number 19 I car just seemed to have missed a gear or three, because he was accelerating and he just basically stopped the 3 cars and swamped him before they even got into turn 1.
He did. You can see there the surtees, John Gale's car, just sweeping through the camera.
And disappointment too, we were expecting to see the number 9 Rob Tweedy car, the Ansett livery car, very famous car of its time, and unfortunately had issues very early in the piece this weekend. It hasn't been able to come out and play for any of the Q&R events, which is a real shame. There's one of the cars almost gets his nose cut off by the Benetton Formula 1 car that's out there. And you'd really hope that when it comes to these things, Les Wright and the Benetton just going, I'll be a little bit more circumspect next time, hopefully, because that's a few dollars worth.
Well, that's right. That was Sean Whelan in his Rolt RT4 from South Australia. That's the red and blue car. Beautiful car. Sean, a top driver as well. Always at the pointy end of the field. Just lacking on horsepower. The Rolt RT4, of course, the ground effects design, designed by Ron Turanak and his brother Alistair, and hence the Rolt name. And it was a great ground effects Formula Atlantic car back in the 1970s. Dominator of sport as Tweedy goes past our commentary point here. No one would have heard what I said then. And Les Wright in second place. And it looks like John Gale has the inside line going through turn 1 of that Surtees on our camera shot.
Yeah, it's turned out to be a bit of a surprise, the Surtees car, and it's a very pretty looking car as well. And, not having seen terribly many of these cars here at the circuit, and if you haven't been to any of the Tasman revivals as well, you wouldn't see much of these full stop. But a great example of old-style wings and slicks when it comes to motorsport here at the track.
Well, that's it. Of course, yeah, powered by the legendary Cosworth DFE, double 4-valve V8. Forms part of the integral structure of the vehicle.
Rolls, they were a very quick car. I remember the lap record, I think it was a Barbagallo, John Boward held for quite some time. It might even be here for that matter too. Think of a big engine being 4 or 5 litres. These things only had 1.6 litres under the shell. Around they go, the back part of the circuit under the old corporate bridge, around from what used to be called turn 8 down into turn 9, the hairpin, and that's a drop and a half, isn't it, Charles? Around 10 metres plus. So it's a real elevation change, one of the more technical aspects of the marvellous Eastern Creek Raceway, Sydney Motorsport Park circuit.
Yeah, some of the circuit from the spectator's point doesn't look as difficult as it is out there on the track, and I mean, the only time I've driven a car here was in buckling down rain all weekend. But coming around that the old, the corporate hill, the old turn 8 area, and you just come around there, and if you hit the gas too early, you do almost lose the car there.
It's a sharper turn than anticipated.
Exactly, yeah, and particularly when it's wet, and there's no grip there at all, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to have sampled both parts of the circuits here, and doing the Grand Prix circuit when I hosted the launch for HDT's VLVE Retro, and in the hands of one of the actual engineers that have worked on the car, coming around those turns, you can feel the car swirling away, and you go, wow, this is fantastic. And then earlier this year for the Top Gear Festival, out there with Rob Dahlgren and the other part of the circuit in his Volvo, the S60 sedan, and that's just an amazing piece of kit, and thrown around by somebody who drives sideways for a living over in Scandinavia. Back to the field. Hearing some absolute drumming of V8s out there. Sounds sensational. Down into 16 they go. This is going to be a battle and a half, I think, over the next couple of laps. Have a look at Tweedy, though, a 28.46 on lap number 3, and we'll probably see about a 14-second lap gap between he and Wright in the number 20 car.
I was riding with another car that we were a bit unfortunate not to see at this weekend, but did practice, but had some problems as well with the engine. It was the Jamie Lana Rolt RT2. The Can-Am car, number 12 in the program, and that is sitting down on display in the pit area at the moment. Jamie Lana normally does 1 minute 28s around here, so that would have been an absolute contender to have some great ding-dong battles with Tom Tweedy out the front.
Yeah, it'd probably be one of the few cars able to challenge him, as we see a great dice on track right now. Number 32 car of Whalen, 19 of Lucas.
Yeah, the two rolled RT4s having an excellent dice there. And that back part of the circuit. Whelan just not quite quick enough at this point in time.
Yeah, Lucas has just got the goods at the moment, not by a huge amount. If we see them on track, it probably looks bigger than what it appears to be according to our monitors there. Lap times obviously will give us the story, but they're so evenly matched at 34.08, 34.25. On lap number 2. Lap number 3 was a 34.6 and a 34.2 between them. I think pardon, Lucas was a 35.
There's some great battles further back. This is Peter Lana on the track at the moment. Peter's driving his Alpine 700, which is the car he won the 1977 Australian Formula 2 Championship in. So he recently purchased the car back, and he's 71 years old now, and out here racing again this weekend. So the Alpine 700 of Peter Lana, James' father, out there at the moment. The famous engine builder, Peter Lana Engines, the specialist in Formula Ford and all things Ford engines out there at the moment, having a great, at the lead of a great battle for the mid-pack there with the sports cars. Steve Webb there in the Alpha 360 Repco, and Justin McClintock in his car as well. So some good battles right throughout the field here.
Yeah, very visually diverse field of cars as well. There's Tom Tweedy on screen and on your monitors, and he's done a sensational job piloting that car around the track. But it's a very long, very low slung, yet very wide looking car. It's a very menacing presence on track than you look at some of the other cars. We've got the Rolts, almost a dehydrated version, a more compact version of that car. As we have a look at the rest of the field, we're down to 22 cars listed for this particular race, missing a couple of cars. Unfortunately, attrition comes to wear and tear in these things.
Yeah, we had an unfortunate red flag in the last race with the other Formula 5000 and David Kent having it coming together. There's quite a bit of damage to both those vehicles.
Fingers crossed the drivers were okay, and so it's been a messy weekend in that respect. 5 laps under the tyres there for Tweedy. He's consistent. Tell you what, it's a 28 yet again for him, coming out of his Formula 3 experience. That would be one of the things that kept him very that particular field.
Well, that's it. He'd do very well in irregularity, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would. Yeah. I think it was, John and Alan were talking about it comes down to a 2% or a 2/10 and that kind of thing, and Tweedy hasn't deviated by very much from that over the last couple of laps, sitting in the 1:28 range.
And although I wouldn't like Tweedy to be out in the regularity event in that car, when I've got my little MG out there, it might be a little bit of a disparity in the speed. As we see Peter Lana again on the screen, still at the front of that battle. In other words, they can't get past him at the moment. He's holding on as they come down the main straight now. So they're just behind the Brabham BT40 of Tim Kuchel. Tim has a number of Brabham racing cars back in South Australia.
Got Justin McClintock out there, the number 21 car, the Galloway Sports, and looking very, very similar. Steve Webb in the 1970 Elfin 360, almost identical cars, and yet two totally different chassis.
Well, that's it, yeah, and they do look a bit similar. There are some differences as you get close up to them, but running around the track here, very similar indeed. Les Wright on the screen at the moment in the Benetton. We didn't see this car for a number of years until recently. He did have a big accident here at Sydney Motorsport Park a few years ago, and rebuilt the car, brought it out again, ran it, and the gearbox literally blew up and blew into a million smithereens, and they couldn't find parts, the gearbox, and it's taken them probably about 4 or 5 years to get that car back on the track. Parts for these mid-80s F1 cars are very scarce.
Just imagine, Charles, that we get into using 3D printing properly at the moment. It seems to be plastic and food. Imagine 3D printing with metal. Build yourself a brand new gearbox, just sort of however they work it, and maybe sort of pipe down some molten aluminium or something, and then all of a sudden, there you go, there's your new cog for a gearbox.
Only take you 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Easy as.
Well, technology is wonderful things. We focus on the number 133 car going through. That's Ian Buddery in his March.
Yeah, sensational car, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty looking thing too. He carves his way through.
Ian Buddery's had a few of the Indy cars over the last few years, and that's the latest one out of his stable.
Tweedy blasts through for lap number 7, as we see the rear end of the field on lap number 5. Gives you a great indication of how quick that car is, as we saw somebody slowing down into turn 1. Tweedy on screen at the moment, though.
Yeah, he's just taken Steve Webb, the Elfin 360.
GoPro cars seem to be the norm nowadays too, Charles. You can imagine the analysis that would go into the video of this after a race, especially for some of the slower cars, saying, oh, I've gone there, or I could have picked up a 10th here, or just for sheer entertainment.
I do it all the time.
Yeah,
in the MG. It's my nightly viewing. It normally actually works the other way though. It makes me slow.
Like extra aerodynamic drag or something.
That's right. Yeah, the MG not as worked up as these cars, but we'll stop talking about that because Tweedy's just heading through turn 15 now, slicing up the back markers.
One of the cars that we were worried about yesterday, it's just as it turned out, a bit of an issue with the program. Chris Hones, the number 16 car, listed in the program as a JWCC2. We're all asking each other yesterday, what the hell is this car? It is, as we found out later on, a Lotus Europa. It was just an error in the printing. So we're thinking it might have been something special, but it wasn't.
No, it looked like a Lotus Europa. and it sounded like a Lotus Europa. And there we go, as Buderi makes his way past another car as they're heading down the straight.
Yeah, but looks like a duck, smells like a duck, cracks like a duck. A couple of laps left in this one would think. Down at the starter's box, watching Tom Tweedy making his way around the circuit. You can just see with those massive big rear tyres, he's crossed it up and drifting the car around.
He is still trying.
He's been caught up in lap traffic too. He's dropped 6 seconds over the last 3 laps at 28.15 on lap 5, a 34.6 on lap number 8 for Tweedy.
Let's see, I mean, he might have just been showing off to the other guys. Look at what rubber I've got at the moment.
Doing the royal wave with one finger as he goes past. It's a very, very tidy looking car, and certainly well prepared by Tweedy and the team. And it's paid dividends for him this weekend. We're in the 4th race for Group Q and Group R, part of the inaugural Sydney Retro Speedfest here at Sydney Motorsport Park. And Tom well and truly on track, no pun intended, for making it 4 from 4.
Well, that's right, and talking about Formula 5000s, there's a big series both here and developing in Australia and quite a large one in New Zealand, where they have upwards of 25, 30 Formula 5000s at each event. And we'll see a lot of that later in the year with most of the 5,000 cars in Australia based down Victoria way. And we'll see probably about 10 or 15 on them on track at Sandown in November. Early November, so book your tickets and come on down to the famous Sandown Park circuit. As we see Sean Whelan now on the tail of Les Wright. Whelan having got past Lucas as they come onto the main straight. Luke's getting into the arrow.
Yeah, Tasman Revival is the event that we're talking about here for Sydney Motorsport Park, the 29th and 30th. Kicked off a few years ago. It's been a pretty decent size event. And for those that have been into historic racing, and Darren Knight himself, of course, Charles, an event that really has grabbed the attention of motorsport fans who follow or are involved in that era.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, people come to it and they flock to it every year. Our big challenge is getting the people that aren't here, putting the rest of the marketplace. There is a huge marketplace there of motorsport fans.
Indeed, yeah.
And Darren and I, and yourself, we're all the younger set of the scene here. And I always say to my mates, come out to a historic meeting. No, we don't want to go to those clappy old things. Well, have a look at what we're watching here on Motorsports TV.
Missing out on the sights and the sounds and the sheer physical experience of having your bones rattled by a 5,000 engine that goes past at 220 km an hour.
That's right.
Fantastic battle that we are seeing still between these 3 cars. They haven't really chopped and changed position that much. We're talking about Les Wright, Whalen and Lucas.
Yeah, they're coming around onto the main straight once again, and we'll see Les Wright pull out a little bit with the crank up a little boost on the turbocharger on the Benetton, ex-Gerhard Berger Benetton this one, raced in the 1986 Formula 1 Championship, and with the 2 Rolf RT4s behind him, an excellent battle. Lucas going out the outside move around turn 2, around the sweeper. Don't know if he'll get it, but he'll hang in there for turn 3.
Got the inside run for turn 3.
Got the turn 3 move, so he'd been playing that. He was working that one out for the last couple of laps. Well, I'm just making it up.
You can get set up though. I think you'd be right on the money there, Charles, where you can plan, saving your fuel and your tyres in this case, and like, all right, well, I know where my car is going to be quick, where I can use my brakes, and knowing from watching these guys over so much time what they're going to do is we see a big brake lock up from the Benetton round at turn 6, and he's now lost 2 positions.
He has, yeah.
So Wright slides back in behind Whalen and Lucas, and he'll be down in 5th now.
Yes, that'll put the red mist well and truly down over that green strip that's across Les Wright's visor. And he'll be out there. Looks like Kenny Bedgegood having a great battle with Surtees there, as he's just going past the John Gale's 30s at the moment. So great battle there. That's the car number 25, Penrite oil car. It's owned by Penrite Oil Company, and it was sponsored by the company back in 1985 when Peter McRae owned and raced the car and drove that in the Australian Championship.
Now we've got a handout from one of the cars.
Yeah, that's John Gale going into the pit area there. So unfortunately, that's probably why Kenny got past him. Unfortunately there for the Surtees, the DFE Cosworth engine car. John just coasting, pretty much rolling down into the back of the paddock area at the moment. So
Unfortunately, that one.
Unfortunate end there to the weekend. Peter Lana now on screen with one of the other ROMs. Peter in his 700.
Yeah, very pretty little car, the Elephant. 1976, 1600cc engine.
And you can see the difference in classes in the early to mid 70s. You've got Tom Tweedy out the front there, big V8 engine in the back, huge rubber sticking it on the tarmac, and then the little Formula 2 car with virtually no rubber on there at all in comparison to what you're seeing here on the big Chevron B2934.
Focusing on Tom Tweedy now, leading the field by a time enough margin to stop, have a coffee, have a donut, scratch your backside for a little while, then still come home and lead. It's currently sitting on around 50 seconds as it makes its way around the back part of the circuit. Last lap board is out. Tweedy goes behind Corporate Hill underneath the old bridge there, as we almost have a handicap finish with some of the cars coming through, about 4 or 5 within half a second of each other. Car number 41 trickling across the line. That is Timothy Cushell in his Brabham BT40 from 80.
Another slower vehicle.
Just,
bit of attrition at the on the second last lap of this race. Final lap for our race leader coming around onto the main straight.
Checkered flag at the ready. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a dominant performance from this young man, Tom Tweedy. 4 from 4 in the Group Q&R. Tom in the 1973 Chevron vehicle.
I love the pan that the camera just did then. Daylight back up the main straight, because there was absolutely nothing there.
It's one of those.
And one of the lap cars coming onto the main straight now, so there's still nothing there.
Stereotypical noise of the crickets chirruping away.
Yeah, that's it.
Car 69 goes through. That's Campbell in 7th position.
Yeah, so just picking up Buttery's car at the moment, the March 86C.
Is that Lotus as well, looking very hunched over as he comes down?
Yeah, the Lotus Europa just crossing the finish line. Another successful weekend. Another didn't sound too good there for the other Elephant there.
Yeah, that was Alan Nolan, the Nola Chev.
Yeah. I was going to say Lucas came in, I think, in second there from Whelan, and Les Wright just pipped at the post for his place. It looked like further back in the pack, Peter Lana managed to stay in front of the other Rob there. So great racing there for the Group's Q&R for their final race. No major incidents, a couple of retirements, and hopefully only really minor issues there for particularly the Surtees. The other cars that were slowing down somewhat, so we can see the Benetton making its way around. Beautiful livery on this car. Get up and close with the colours of Benetton stripes down the engine cover.
Quite a lengthy race as that one turned out too, Charles. Ended up being 13 laps. Tweedy won by 56 and a half seconds ahead of Peter Lucas in number 19 my car. Whalen in 3rd, Wright in 4th, Bedgood in 5th, Gardner, Campbell, Bootery, Haste, Lana, and then the 2 McClintocks, 11th and 12th, Miller, Webb, Nolan, and Hones rounding out the 16 cars that ended up finishing. Unfortunately, there was quite a few retirements during that one. A couple made it into the paddock, a couple more possibly around the outside of the circuit, but they've been fairly well stressed this weekend, and today, of course, a little bit warmer than yesterday, and as a result of that, maybe some of the components got a little bit hotter than what they'd anticipated.